Hello all, welcome to the Citation Mustang Garmin G1000 Part 7 VOR 14 approach with the GPS and VOR. We start by flying from Nasmu to ICT, the initial approach fix of the VOR 14 approach. From there we're going to fly a procedure turn back to ICT, but now as the final approach fix, and fly the rest of the approach to the runway of 14 at Wichita, Kansas. This Part 7 is a combination of the FMS, GPS and VOR in the background. In the next episode we're going to fly this approach with the VOR only. On the approach plate you can see the VOR, actually it's a VORTAC, ICT, which is the initial approach fix and the final approach fix of this VOR approach. After the initial approach fix we can descend to 3600 during our procedure turn. After the procedure turn in our inbound track we can descend down initially to 3100 back to the VORTAC. After the final approach fix we can descend down to UGOV, which is at 2220 feet. If there is no positive navigation identification of UGOV, we have to arrest our minimum descent altitude to 2220, as you can see here on the S14. But if we can make a positive navigational identification of UGOV, our minimum descent altitude is lower to 1760 feet. Here you can see the flight plan and the visual on the multifunction display. On the primary flight display you can see us now flying from Nasmu to ICT, the initial approach fix of the VOR 14. We are at 4000 feet and we know that after crossing ICT we can descend down to 3600. You can see in a small overlay that there is a top of descent, so we can set our VPath to 3600. Here we check that our nav frequency is 113.8 ICT. You can see that the VPath is closing in now. And here's the engagement
Vertical
of the
track.
VPath. We're descending now on VPath to 3600. The aircraft is now turning to the outbound leg before it starts the procedure turn. Here you can see that VNAV is unavailable during this part of the approach. In a few seconds we will turn to 254 degrees. That is the first part of the procedure turn. We reduce our airspeed to 180, and when we have 180 we bring the flaps down to 15 degrees. We set our inbound track with the heading bug, and right now we're turning to the first part of the procedure turn. We set our altitude pre-select to 3100, but we can only go to 3100 when we are on the inbound track towards ICT, but now as the final approach fix. Here we can turn to a heading of 074, which is the second part of the procedure turn, to intercept the inbound towards ICT. Here we check that our nav frequency is 113.8 ICT. Although we are doing this on GPS overlay, we still have to watch the VOR needle, which is green on the backside of the HSI. Here you can see that the VOR needle is merging with the GPS LNAV, and when they meet we can descend down to 3100. Here you can see Yukov at 2220. We can descend down to 2220 after we crossed ICT as the final approach fix. You can see here that 2220 is the minimum descent altitude. But if we can make a positive navigational identification of Yukov, our minimum descent altitude is lowered to 1760 feet. We will reduce our airspeed to 140, crossing the final approach fix. And here you can see that the simulator is requesting to switch the CDI for the VOR, but we leave it on GPS LNAV. Here we check our minimums again. Here is the VOR final approach fix, and we put our gear down and we slow down to 140 knots. Now we can also descend down to 2220. We will reach 2220 well before Yukov, but we have to stay there until we cross Yukov. We set our airspeed pre-select to 110. Here we reach 2220 and we will stay there until we cross Yukov. Now we can set our minimum descent altitude of 1760 feet in the altitude pre-selector. And here's Yukov. We can descend now to 1760 feet. Three miles out, bring the flaps to 30 and reduce the airspeed to VREV+. Here's 500, so we do our mental
500.
checks. Gear down, lock 3 in the green, flaps 30, yaw damper off, the pilot off, we leave them on. Missed approach altitude set, which is not done yet, because here are our minimums. And when we reach our minimums, we're going to set our missed approach altitude, which is initially 3000. And we're clear to land. Alt is green, and now we can set our missed approach altitude of 3000. Here you can see the 2220 at Yukov and the missed approach altitude. Now you can see that 8.6 nautical miles from ICT is where our missed approach point lies. You can see that in the nav 2 on the bottom of the screen. We set our airspeed pre-select at 170 knots for a missed approach. We have a stabilized approach. And 8.6 nautical miles is coming up now. And you see it also in the distance on the top. 8.5 and 8.6. So toga, vertical speed up, flaps 15, positive rate, gear up, 400, flaps up, suspend off, CDI and nav are already there. GPS is green, and check the FMS. 700 autopilot on, and climb thrust. And we tell ATC that we do the missed as published, and we're going over to approach and tell them the same. Thanks for watching. The next video is the VOR 14 approach, but the VOR only, so without the GPS FMS. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for watching, and perhaps until next time. Bye bye.